What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today we have an amazing guest. She is a tremendous athlete, Miss Bikini Olympia, 3 times running, fitness cover model. She's a huge social media personality. Guys, please help me welcome the one and only Ashley Kaltwasser. How's it going?
Hi, everything's going great. Just finished a workout, feeling good. How about you guys?
There you go.
Good. Still gotta get my workout in. That'll be later tonight.
Yeah, you're lagging behind, man. You know,
I know.
we already jumped the gun and beat you to it.
Well,
so.
you know, when you got work and a baby, you know, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but you gotta squeeze it in when you can.
I'll let you have all the babies, all right?
Yeah. So how are things going for you over there? I know off the podcast you mentioned you recently moved from Cali to Vegas, and I know you said you liked it out there. How has that changed for you, and what was the biggest difference you saw between Cali and Vegas as far as for yourself, your business, what you do? Because I know I've been following for quite a while, and you've done some really cool things, and just kind of get your perspective on how those things are going.
Right. So in California, I lived in Los Angeles, and I lived in Hollywood. So I actually lived on the Star Walk, which is a super touristy area, very hustle and bustle. Everyone was, busy doing their thing. And that's kind of what attracted me to Los Angeles in the first place, is it was motivating to see people working hard, hustling, And although it's not really known for fitness, I just saw what other people were doing in their own, career. So I thought that was, a great place for me to be. But you know what, after living there for a few years, it's a little bit overwhelming sometimes, right? Especially when you live in a touristy area like I was. And, I moved out here because I know Vegas to be very convenient, very fitness friendly. There's a big fitness community out here, and it's where the biggest show of the entire year is the Olympia. Although I will say this year they moved it to Florida due to COVID restrictions, but that's just the exception. It's a super, it's a fitness hotspot basically. So it's motivating to see my people kind of, do their thing. And I like it out here because it's where I'm at, super outdoorsy. I got mountains to hike. The weather is perfect. I mean, the weather was great in Los Angeles too, but it's a little bit fresher here. So I'm just loving it. And actually to add icing on the cake, my coach also just recently moved here as well.
Oh, great.
He's building a gym out here.
Ooh.
Yes, it's kind of cool to see the gym being put together. And yeah, so it's great. I have great energy out here, and I have a few friends out here. So I think I made a great choice, and it's so much cheaper too. So
yeah, that's never a bad thing, for sure. I always like to, kind of see what the fitness communities are like around the country, because, Miami is, pretty sporadic and very different depending on where in Miami you actually are. Like South Beach is very functional fitness. If you go, more into where Anthony's from in South Miami, I'd say it's more like bodybuilding and powerlifting, right?
Yeah, if you go deeper, if you go way deeper, Kendall, Pinecrest.
So how's it in Vegas? Is it mostly, with what you do with bodybuilding and figure, or do you also see a decent mix of other types of modalities as well?
Well, honestly, I just see fit people in general. And I'll tell you, even going to let's say a mainstream gym like Planet Fitness or one of those commercial gyms or chain gyms you would call them, even when I go to one of those, I see way more in shape people than I ever did in LA. It's crazy. But I will say, for a competitor, there are a lot of competitors here, a lot. As far as the other sports, I'm still quite new. So maybe I haven't picked up on the other, fitness scenes. But as far as my industry, there's so many of us here, and it's so cool. You go into a gym and you see somebody that competes or could compete, it's motivating.
It's funny because you would think, everybody here, California and the big cities and all this stuff, but, obviously, I know that Las Vegas has been coming up. I know a lot of people have been moving there, like we were saying, from California and other areas. But it's always good to know, especially that the fitness industry is going down there. What would you say caused that spark to happen in Vegas as far as the fitness industry? What would you say was the reason why people you feel in Vegas are necessarily now taking that more seriously and wanting to put more fitness things out there?
Well, I think the Olympia does have a lot to do with it, right? Because it is the hometown of the biggest show there is in our industry. It's like the Super Bowl of the sport, right? So I think that attracted a lot of fitness people here. Also, the weather is great. It's very outdoorsy. If you get off the strip, like where I'm at, there's like, I can hike, I can jog. There's a lot of outdoor activities that you can do. And I also think like the convenience part as well, right? So there's a lot of things here that's 24/7. And sometimes as gym people, we get up super early. Like me, I wake up at like 3 or 4 a.m.
Woo.
And it's nice to have things already open and kind of like people are already starting their day. So I think that's kind of cool.
Damn, I think we got to step our game. I thought
No.
us waking up at like 4:30 was
I know.
legit. I might have to start setting my alarm earlier. I don't know if my dogs will like that too much, but
That it's definitely not the easiest thing, but like you said, when your heart is into fitness, you literally will do anything. I'm telling you, like those fitness, all the fitness people like yourself out there, when you take that energy and you apply it to anything else, it's like anything else is completely possible. Because I will tell you, like the dedication it takes to be in the fitness industry, doing it, especially for yourself and the goals you got to achieve, it's not easy.
well, I had a client this morning. I trained him at 6:30, and he was like, "Oh, so like you wake up early every day. Like, do you're an early riser? You like waking up early?" I just look at him like, I don't. Does anyone like waking up early? No, but you have to do it. Like, it just is what it is. What it is. It's like, do you want me to show up to your session? Then I guess I have to be waking up at 4:30. Then.
Yeah, exactly.
So I definitely would love to dive in a little bit. Since you are a top competitor, you've won 3 times on the big stage with the big name and the big event. How does that look like for you? What does the preparation look like? And also too, what first got you into wanting to compete?
Sure. So the preparation for me, well, my strategy is try to stay pretty close to the stage look as possible, right? Because especially for females, it's really difficult to go up, down, up, down, up, down. It takes a toll on your body. So for me, I found it way easier just to kind of stay closer to that stage leanness rather than go into a complete off season and eat whatever and then having to like burn off 20 pounds of fat. It's super tough. So I've learned my lesson. Believe me, I will never get like that again. So I try to stay maybe like 5 or 10 pounds over stage weight all year round, which isn't easy, but for me to maintain is a lot easier than it is to, go up and down in weight, And the second question was what?
So what made you want to get started into your career with competing?
Okay. So I have always been an athlete my entire life. Ever since I was a little girl, I was in gymnastics, I was in swimming. And then in middle school, I found track. And then high school, I did really good in track. And I got a scholarship to a Division I college to run 400-meter hurdles.
Ooh.
And yes.
Not
Damn.
Yeah, it's a tough race.
Damn.
Man.
That's one of my favorite events. I love the hurdles.
Oh gosh, man, the hurdles, man. The 400-meter hurdles, I look back on it, I'm like, how did I even do that? That was like crazy. I remember like the practices, man, we would do 400-meter repeats. And I like threw up after the practices, just like that lactic acid buildup. It's just like, that feeling is so hard to explain to somebody that hasn't experienced it, like that nausea after 400 repeats. Ooh, I don't want to do that again. So actually, now that I think of it, training like I am now is a lot easier than that.
Are you pretty lanky, like anatomically?
No, I wouldn't say lanky. I'm 5'5", so I'm not like exceptionally tall. I think I'm just like maybe proportionate, but yeah, I was a little bit on the short side for a hurdler. But you can get away with being
bouncing over those hurdles at 5'5", like you got some hops.
Yeah, but they are lower in 400-meter hurdles than they are 100. So that, but yes, it would have been nicer to be a little bit taller in that thing. But after my college track career was over, I kind of felt lost because my entire life I was always training for something, always training for a meet, always training for a competition, whatever the case may be. So I felt very, I guess, lost. And I was like, who am I? Like, what am I doing? I was just bartending after, just kind of like trying to find what I wanted to do in life. And yeah, I wasn't the happiest at that point, really, because I was just like, I'm just living, what am I doing? I'm existing, but I'm not living. There we go. That's the way I want to word it. So with that being said, throughout the years, I always followed my high school track coach on Facebook. I always wanted to see what she was up to because that was kind of close to her in high school. She was my coach. And I saw that she like was competing in these figure competitions. And I'm like, oh, what is this? You know? And I started seeing it over and over. And I'm like, you know what, that's kind of cool. I want to check it out sometimes. I went to the gym that she trains at to see what it was all about, to train with these people. And I went there and I was like, this is awesome. Like, these girls are like built so good. And then I also noticed that, like, oh my gosh, they have a bikini division too. That looks really fun. That looks like something that I could do. So I started training for my first competition and I fell in love with it. And I just, yeah, things started happening really fast. And I just went with the flow, you know? So I was just like, I don't know how I got here to where I'm at, but I'm like, I love it. I'm enjoying every moment
Awesome.
of this journey.
So how long exactly have you been competing now?
Well, technically my first show was in 2011. I did like a few, but I started seriously competing in 2012. Yeah, that's when it started really picking up for me. So yeah, quite a long time.
When did you become pro?
2012.
So 2012, okay, is when you became pro. And
Yes.
how was that? Like, how was that shift when you went from 2011 and becoming pro mentally? Like, how was that?
Wow, it was, I will say what got me there was after my first competition in 2011, it was the Arnold Classic. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. The Arnold Classic.
Definitely.
Yes. So they have an amateur division, and I competed in the amateur division 2011, and I got 14th in my height class, right? Which wasn't bad. There was like, I want to say like 60 or so girls in my height class. So, you know, it's pretty good. But after that, I'm like, you know what? I think now that I see these girls around me, I'm like, there's a lot of things I can fix here. And to be honest, a lot of it wasn't physique related. It was more like hair, tanning, presentation. Cause I was kind of lost. My first show, like, I came in with like a suit that I bought at Target. Like, I didn't get a spray tan. I got at a salon spray tan, basically. It wasn't like a competition spray tan. And I was just like, you know, I guess I didn't know any better. It was silly. But after that, and I saw how these girls were, you know, putting themselves together and how they were doing the presentations, I was like, you know what? Every day from here on to the next Arnold Classic, I'm going to study this every single day and see what I can fix and improve on. So every single night I would watch the same video over and over on YouTube. And it was the Arnold Classic from the year before. So I can see how I can become better. So fast forward to 2012, I made all those adjustments. You know, the presentation, the hair was better, the suit was better, I got a good tan, and I ended up winning overall the whole thing. So I was
amazing.
Yeah, it was. And I get goosebumps even talking about it. But it was such a cool experience because in Ohio, that is like the fitness event for us, right? And in the Arnold, you know, you're competing against girls from all over the world. There was hundreds of them. And it's like, oh my gosh, I just drove 2 hours and I competed and I won the whole thing. So that was like the first big show I ever won. And then, you know, shortly after I turned pro.
How much does like the hair and the makeup and the outfit and all of the, you know, components that you really don't, I mean, from an outsider perspective, you don't think about necessarily, how much of that really plays a role in like your overall score at the end or, you know, the total performance throughout the contest?
So for bikini, it is big. It is big. It's not so much in the other divisions. Like the closer you get to bodybuilding, the less it matters, right? But, you know, for bikini and then figure, you still gotta, you know, put yourself together nicely. And then, you know, I'll be honest, in bodybuilding, it doesn't matter a whole lot.
It's gotta be, you know, fucking massive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The bigger, the better.
Yeah, exactly. So I like to always compare it to people that don't know what the sport of bikini is. I like to say it's like a fitness pageant, right?
That's a good way of putting it.
Yes, exactly. So that they can grasp that it's not only the physique, but it's like the presentation, it's the hair, it's the makeup, it's the suit. So that is extremely important in bikini, way more so than any other division.
I really loved going back. I really loved when you said how you started. When you went in there, you just went in, started with what you had, you know, you got the target, you know, suit, you weren't as best prep that you were, you know, you were moving forward. And I think it just shows people like, you got to just start with what you do have and learn from that. And then like you did. You
Yes.
studied the film, studied over and over and over. You learned what you needed to do. And then right there, you applied all the things you needed to, so you don't repeat the mistake again. And I love that, because I think that's a huge learning lesson for a lot of people in any industry, whatever it is that they want to do. And then now, of course, most importantly for anybody listening who is going to compete, in understanding, the way this process works. I want to ask you, being who you are, winning 3 times, obviously in that pro level is not easy. What would you say separates you apart? Obviously we have all these components that you said are super important. What separates you apart from the rest of the people and helps you to keep winning?
So I would say, obviously, probably experience is my biggest advantage. I've done this before. And, I think that with that experience comes like my mindset as well, knowing that, like, to some extent, you got to realize it is a subjective sport, more so in bikini than any other division. Let me stress that, because the further you get towards bodybuilding, the less subjective it is, because it's more clear, right? The biggest, the most symmetrical, lean body, right? But in bikini, there's so much room for opinion, because it's more subjective, like how lean is too lean, how soft is too soft for bikini.
Damn.
Because I've been both too lean and I've been both too soft, and you just gotta find that perfect balance and that right in the middle, because it's so volatile. You're a little bit too soft, you're a little bit too lean, and that could just sway the score from first to like 10th, just from maybe even like a pound or two in bikini. So it is crazy how close it is. But I do think that, like, from having that experience, I have a good mindset and a great way to go about it. And going even back to what you said previously about like becoming a master of your craft and studying the sport, I do realize that it is a lot of that, and you have to take in every mistake you make and learn from it. Because I think a big problem that a lot of people who compete have is when they don't get the result that they want in their show, they're like, oh, this sucks, I should have won, I totally should have won, F this, I'm not competing anymore. And let's be honest, your friends, your family, no matter how you look, they're always going to say you should have won. And those voices get to people, but their opinions don't matter. What matters is judges, your coaches, people that have that expert eye that can give you good feedback, because you have to learn from every mistake you make. And let me tell you, even competing all these years and doing so many competitions, I'm still learning. There are still things that I can do better. And I pick apart like my photos and my presentation and the videos and think, oh, I could have done this a little bit better, even if it's something so slight, like even if it's like, oh, my hair should have been on this side instead of this side. Little details like that, I'm always picking up on. So it's like an ongoing process of learning and fixing those mistakes.
I've been telling him for years, when he takes my photos, he needs to take them from my good side, from my good, not my bad side, my good side. But he never listens.
Because I want to I want to look better on the photo. That's why. Because if I make you look better, then we have a problem.
But I really do think that you brought up a good point. I think you can extrapolate it really across like any field, any aspect of life that you really want to take. With the viral age that we live in with social media, right? People, especially with people like you, right, who really do have such an enormous following, I can imagine people look at you and go, oh, well, she has it all. She has it easy. I mean, we get it. I don't even, we're nowhere close to the following you're at. And I don't know where we got to the point where becoming a student of your craft, because, really working and honing in, watching the tape like you've been doing, seems to be thrown out the window, but every time you hear an athlete talk about, how they actually progressed year after year and became successful, yourself, people like Kobe and LeBron and, Peyton Manning and all these people, like, it's by watching the tape. It's by doing the little things that, people necessarily don't want to do, but unfortunately, like, you have to do it. I'm sure there are times where you're like, if I have to watch this video one more time, I'm going to go nuts, but you did it anyway. So what's some advice you can give to people who maybe are either, thinking about starting out in bikini or are in bikini, but kind of aren't sure about their path? Like, what are some steps that they can take right now to help them, reaffirm that this is something that they want to head further down, or something that they should, maybe think about starting up in general?
Well, I mean, first you should ask yourself if your lifestyle permits for it and if you have the correct mindset, right?
That's a
Because
good
not
one.
everyone, yes, not everyone is going to be willing to, skip going out with their friends every weekend for some drinks and pizza. And there's a lot of sacrifices that I have to make, And I would say, although times with friends are fun and, going out is fun, the most rewarding thing is knowing that I did everything I could do for my show to be the best I could be, right? Because that's, what's a few hours of fun versus like a lifetime of memories. So you got to know, like, when you got to know if this is like you're that right type of person for it. And there's a lot of repetition that goes into that as well. Are you okay with eating the same foods over and over for an extended period of time? And are you willing to wake up early and do what you need to do before you go to work, and just get it done? So there's a lot of things that you need to like question before you start getting into it seriously. Now, I will say this though, doing a show or two, gosh, I think everyone should do it. It's fun. But if you want to do it long term and make a career out of it, you just got to be willing to make those sacrifices and realize that it's not for everyone.
Right.
You might not be the person for it.
Yeah,
I really
no,
love that.
it's so true. We talk about it all the time, even with our clients and the people, that are looking to get in shape and I want to get a six pack and become super shredded. It's like, I don't know about that. Like, I've seen you at restaurants before. You're going to be able to stop doing that? What about the $300 bar tab you have every other Saturday?
Yeah.
Like, that goes out the window.
Especially when we're dealing with high profile clients, events, flying, traveling. It's not this.
And then it's like, okay, cool. You want to get an 8-pack. Like, these are all the things you're going to do. Well, that seems hard. Like, do you think everyone would have an 8-pack? Everyone would be as lean as you can get for your show if it was easy.
Yeah.
Right.
If there weren't sacrifices you have to make, like, I think we'd all be billionaires by now. I'd be pumped. But
yeah,
it's through that. And we mentioned this on the podcast as well, is like, the delayed gratification that really goes into that. Like you said, like a lifetime of memories versus like a couple hours with your friends at a bar that you're not even going to remember.
Which one do you want more? And that's really up to you at the end of the day. Is what do you want out of it at the end of the day with your life and your happiness? And it's truly key. Now, I want to ask you, Ashley, since I know you did, you had that time where I know you were doing a lot of like collabs and social media collaborations with a lot of other big, cool influencers and, personalities out there. How was that? Because I'm sure that was challenging at times where, I'm sure you guys got together pretty often, parties, events, obviously you got your shoots that you would do and all that stuff. I remember seeing on Instagram, a few years ago when you guys were going hard. How was that with your competitions, getting ready, waking up early, not falling into temptation and pressure, which I'm sure there was a lot of other ones in the group who might be doing some of these other things. Turn it up, and you weren't.
Yeah. So the funny thing about that is, how I mentioned that I lived in Hollywood there for a few years. I unknowingly moved into an apartment complex where all these social media famous people lived. And I had no clue. That's not like my intention when I moved there. I just thought like, oh, this has a great gym, great amenities, great location. But they all live there. And then, once they saw that like a fit chick was there and they're like, oh, they asked me to be a part of their videos and stuff like that whenever they needed like a fitness girl or they wanted to do a workout video. And it's a great place to collab. It's something that I kind of stumbled into, but not really on purpose. It just kind of happened. But it was a lot of fun during that time. But I will say this, during that time when I was doing a lot of those collabs, like in 2016, 17, oh gosh, probably my worst years as far as training and competing. And in fact, I took 2017 off, not because of that reason, but a lot of other reasons. But it definitely, in my physique showed too. That wasn't my best years just because kind of was a little bit of a distraction to my training and my dieting, Could
you imagine going to your realtor? Could you imagine going to your realtor and being like, oh, listen, if the average follower count on this building isn't at least 300,000 followers, I'm not moving into this peasant building. Like,
hey, that's Hollywood. That wouldn't even surprise me. I will say this.
Now.
Oh gosh. Oh,
Yeah.
God. I'm
TikTok
so glad I'm
buildings.
Yeah.
not.
Oh, you can't break
Yeah.
dance? Oh no.
Goodness, that's a whole nother
That might
thing.
be where we're headed though, right? Where they
Right?
just have to post how many followers the average person
Jeez.
has in the building. I'll move out
Honestly,
of America.
Hollywood is like that though. And coming from the Midwest, so, you know, like I said, I
Mhm.
lived in Akron, Ohio my whole life. I was a little bit shocked to see that that was actually kind of the mindset in Hollywood, but not literally like that. But in other cases, like if I did go out with like friends or stuff, there had been times where they wouldn't let certain people in because they didn't look good enough. And that to me was shocking. I was like, really? Because that's something you
crazy.
see like in the movies,
Yeah.
and it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Well, I definitely know
some of
here
the
in
girls I was
Miami.
with, they're
No,
like,
I mean,
oh,
I come from a small town in upstate New York, like 1,300 people, you know, real small. And like some of my friends would come down to Miami and they'd be like in cargo shorts. I'm like, you can't wear
No.
that. They're like, what do you mean I can't wear cargo? I'm like,
They won't let
we're
you
about to
in.
go to the nightclub. Like, no. We need, well, this is all I brought. It's like, all you brought were cargo shorts. Like, what? And they're like, I didn't know. And then I have to remember like, oh fuck, like real life isn't like this for for most people, you know? Where like
yeah.
if you don't have a Palm Angels t-shirt, you're not getting into the club, you know?
Yeah. There had been times where I went out with a group of people and they literally said, okay, you and you can get in, and then I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to tell your friends, those two, I'm sorry, they can't, you know, they don't look the part. I was shocked, but that really is how it was. Which, by the way, one big advantage here is like I don't feel out of place anymore. I kind of felt out of place in LA because I was never there to be like an actress or a model. I was just like a fitness chick that loved the environment because everyone was hustling. And it's much better out here because nobody seems to be like that, or to that extent yet.
Mhm.
Who knows? If I'll experience that in the future,
Well,
I
if
don't
you
know.
stay off
But
the
for
strip,
now,
you'll
everyone's
probably
cool.
be fine.
Yeah.
So let me ask you on the flip side, like during that time, I know you said you struggled with some of your fitness competitions, you know, some of that took a hit. What was the positive side that you saw out of what you were doing? Because obviously I know you must have seen something if you weren't going to put all this crazy effort into the competition side. What kind of positive did you see from the collaborations and, you know, working with this group of people? What was it that you gained out of that?
Well, I will say it definitely taught me a lot about like marketing and social media. I learned a lot from these people. I'm telling you, I learned a lot. And at the time, I had really good social media engagement, way better than it is now, because I was more
Same
like,
here.
yes, I was doing more of like comedy, fitness comedy stuff, like goofy stuff. Everyone loves skits and goofy stuff. Whereas now I'm like more like motivating, if that makes sense. So I had a lot more engagement. And actually, to be honest, I made more money during those periods when I wasn't really doing as well in the competitions because I made a lot with social media. But now it's the opposite, but I wouldn't have it any other way because I like this life a lot better and I like to motivate people. I would rather motivate people and like potentially change them in a way that they can live a positive and healthy lifestyle rather than a few laughs, which don't get me wrong. I like to mix in a few goofy videos here and there now.
Yeah, you got to
too.
be yourself too.
Yes, exactly. Because I'm kind of goofy, but I'm very motivating as well. So it's like a different turn. So I kind of lost a lot of that audience. Whereas now I don't care. It's not even about that. I'm happy with what I'm doing now. And I'm very, like I mentioned, it's way more rewarding to inspire people than it is to make them laugh for
Well,
me.
as two people who, just like you, have spent, pretty much our entire lives around fitness, we can say we appreciate people like you who are doing, the right thing and not just, going for the money grab, which,
100%.
unfortunately is part of the business as well.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey,
no,
you can make money, but it's just like, like Josh said, it's not just going for the money grab over what you really believe and love and enjoy.
Yes.
And stand by.
And I mean, we are really in here to like help people and inspire people. Like what, you standing on stage is inspiring for so many women who, might be going through, body image issues or, motivational issues where they think that they can't accomplish like these astronomical goals. But, you're a prime example of like, if you set your mind to something and you're dedicated enough, you can do it. And
yes.
we need more people like this in the fitness industry than people who are like selling Herbalife.
Yeah. And honestly, if I had like a tagline of what I'm trying to do by inspiring
Not
people, like
yeah.
I want to make fitness fun because I feel like in the competition world with a lot of competitors, everything is so serious. And I look at their Instagram, it looks miserable, right? Like their picture with their chicken asparagus and then this and oh my gosh, this workout sucks. Like, which I get, you know, because you want to come across as a serious athlete. You want to show people it's tough. But at the same time, it can be fun too. I have a lot of fun. And I want to show girls out there, you know, I'm staying prepping basically all year round. And I'm still doing it. And I'm having fun. And I'm not miserable. I'm not miserable. I enjoy every moment of the journey. I enjoy the hard workouts. I enjoy the fun cheat meals after a show. I enjoy it all. So you can too, because I feel like a lot of girls get turned off, and guys too. They get turned off because they see their favorite competitor and they think, wow, I could never do that. Like, look at that. Like, gosh, eating fish every day.
Well, if you think about it, you know, like what you guys do in bikini and figure and bodybuilding, like that really is the pinnacle of what the human body can do within our field, right? It's like, it's different when you're talking about like everyone likes to compare like basketball player, like NBA stars or NFL players to like, oh, well, my body can do that. But it really is the people who step on stage, or if you compete in like powerlifting or a strongman or something like that, that really is like what the pinnacle of the human body can potential can reach to. The only unfortunate part of that is when people see things like, okay, all I do is boil chicken and eat, you know, baked broccoli. They think, you know, the people that we work with, they think, okay, well, I have to boil chicken and I have to boil broccoli. It's like, no, you can be having fun. You know, even though you are restricting yourself in some ways, there are more opportunities that you can have where you can enjoy yourself and, you know, you can express who you are as a person without doing all of these things that are detrimental to your health. You know, there is a positive spin on it. So it's nice to kind of see that and see that, you know, people within the, you know, bikini figure bodybuilding world are taking that approach to show more people that, you know, it doesn't have to be as boring and as, you know, depressing as some athletes might make it out to be.
Yes, exactly.
So Ashley, are you just mainly focused on being the athlete and competing yourself, or are you also taking on coaching clients? And are you getting requests for people to actually be coached by you for them to be able to compete on stage as well?
Well, I do get requests from time to time. I'm currently not taking on clients until the new gym gets built here. So my coach, like I mentioned, yes, building a gym. So I will have like a little nice place to do a check-ins and an office and stuff like that. But as of right now, no. But in the 2021, yes, I will be.
Release any details? Gym name, location?
Yeah. So the gym name will be Contest Prep Center Vegas, and the location is honestly, it's still so new that I don't remember the address. It's in North Vegas, though, kind of where old Vegas is.
Okay.
So that's As far as the street name, sorry, I can't remember.
Old Vegas
right now.
is going to become New Vegas.
That's it. Well, I definitely know that when that gym opens and you're ready to coach, I know Josh wants to prepare for a bikini show, so I know he'll definitely.
Okay.
As long as I'm leaner than him, that's really all that matters to me.
Yeah.
You know? I just have to be this a quarter of a body percent better, and then I'll be.
That's it. So in the online space, so I know you've done some online coaching and stuff like that and online programs. How's that been going for you? And what have you seen as far as with the whole COVID situation? I know you mentioned you haven't been coaching, but I'm not sure if you're still doing that online though. How have you seen that space shift for you, or for other people that you know that are coaches as well, or, you know, athletes? How have you seen that shift in the COVID space as far as like people wanting to work with you guys, the interest of just getting better during this time and putting more time into yourself?
Well, I think you're referring to my ebooks or my fitness app, but actually that's been going good because
happy to hear that.
For me, luckily for me, I had a at-home workout ebook, so that was doing
Crushed
good.
it.
So but I would say in general, you would be surprised how many competitors like stayed on their plan during COVID, you know? And I think a lot of people just made it work with what they had, with resistance bands, with like 5-pound dumbbells. Or I know for me, when I was in the COVID quarantine, lockdown, or whatever you call it, what I had to do, I was still living in Hollywood. I would I would use the stairwell, the 12-story stairwell.
Woo!
Do my cardio. Yeah. And then I would do
Killing it.
resistance bands.
Yep.
But I had to get creative because all the gyms were closed. And yeah, so I did that like a few times a week, the stairwell. And it was really stuffy, not very scenic, but I made it work.
I mean,
And watch even more film.
nutrition wise, you guys must have been ready for this, cooking meals at
100%.
home and having everything prepared, all the food in the fridge. Like, all right, I'm good. I already know what I'm going to cook.
Yeah, that is true. But I will say, the more you're home, you can tend to boredom eat, which sometimes
That's true.
I have done.
I am guilty of that 100%.
Yeah.
Don't even.
Where you
ask
just
me.
like, out of habit, pick up some snacks and you're like, am I hungry or am I just bored?
I have to keep sunflower seeds around because if not, then I'll find like candy and chips
Like
and
the
stuff.
stash of candy
Oh.
that's
Oh,
right over
yeah.
there.
Smart
This guy's
man.
a candy machine.
Yeah, I'm a big candy guy.
Oh,
I love.
I'm the
I'm a
opposite.
huge
I'm
sweet
just
tooth.
a huge
Cuban.
Give me, Cuban.
Yeah,
Cuban. Give me the food. Give me the croquetas. Give me the empanadas.
I'll smash some empanadas.
And I'll eat that
all
up
day.
all day. Probably not what people should not be hearing right now, but
Yeah, that's
hey.
okay. Well, balance, right? We're talking about balance here. Give and take. What's next for you? What's on the horizon for you? Like, what's the next big thing that you got going? I know you said that you're working towards obviously the big show in Vegas that happens every year. This year in Florida. Do you know where in Florida it's going to be?
Orlando, Florida.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Everything is
Yeah.
in fucking. We got to get shit down
Everything's in
here in
Orlando.
Miami. Miami's much better than Orlando.
Come on. I think
Yeah, a
we
lot of our shows this year got moved to Florida because they seem to be very lenient with the crowd size and letting people in and compete. So yeah,
America's
quite a few
petri
things.
dish.
Yep. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we're the guinea pigs for everything. We're the lab.
That's it.
They're like, try this out with Florida, see if it works. If it does, we'll bring it to New York and everywhere.
So
Florida's
as
the
a rule.
place to be. You guys are lucky.
Yep. No, I love Florida.
Sometimes
Yeah,
until a
it
Florida
depends.
man story comes around, and then we're like, oh.
Oh
fuck.
yeah, I hear those on
Then we're
the news
then we're
sometimes.
like the embarrassment of the whole country. Everyone's like, oh, everything's open. It's like, yeah, but we have people like wrestling alligators on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Getting put
I've
on
heard of
barstool.
Hilarious. So, as far as for yourself with the competing, are there new approaches when it comes to competition with the whole COVID, the way you guys have to like go about it, competing, going through the procedures, compared to what it was before?
The only thing I can think of specifically is like face masks. Sometimes for some of the shows, they made the competitors wear them. Sometimes it was only worn
Interesting.
backstage. Sometimes you have to wear a face mask when you're with other people on stage, but if you're by yourself on stage doing your individual presentation, you can take it off. So it's kind of different for every
Gotcha.
show. But it's one thing I've learned this year, you just got to go with the flow. It's 2020. You got to go with the flow.
That's
Just
right.
be prepared
That's
for
right.
anything. It might get moved to a different location like it did Vegas, like from Vegas to Orlando. It might get a different day. You gotta be willing to be lenient because you never know. It's 2020. Gotta go with the flow.
You
Just go with the
definitely
flow.
don't. So I gotta ask you though, now that you brought the mask on, you didn't have to compete with some. Since you did mention the hair, the makeup, did the mask actually count as part of the points when competing in the show, having the prettiest mask?
Bedazzled
Oh.
masks like they do with the bikinis.
No, they said that it wouldn't matter for this particular situation, but it is like a disadvantage for people with really great teeth, myself included. I'm like, oh man, I spent $10,000 on veneers. I can't even show them off because I got the mask.
Damn, you got a deal. Mine were like 15, I think. I should go to your
I
dentist.
think it
Fuck.
depends on how many teeth you get though.
Yeah, I
I
had
really-
eight. I had 8.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't remember how.
4 crowns
Something
and
like that.
4 veneers. On that, I still can't get like the chiclet teeth image out of my head. They're like, you want to look in the mirror? I was like, of course. My teeth all shaved down,
Oh.
looking like porcupine.
Oh.
So what's the next big thing after Olympia, or is that what you're going to keep on chasing? Is there anything after that you want to pursue? Are there any big projects you're working on? Definitely would love to hear that and share it with the audience.
So after the Olympia, doesn't look like there's any shows till at least March, maybe later, depending on if Ohio lets people have an expo.
Come on,
We'll see.
Ohio.
Okay, let's go. Come on.
Yes, come on, Ohio, let's do this. But after the Olympia, I just have to go into off season. So I got to be super careful not to get too far off track, knowing that there really isn't any other shows till like March. It's a pretty big gap. I typically like to compete like at least like once month. So yeah. So, but the gym, like I mentioned, is being opened. So that's going to hopefully keep me busy and kind of, I'll be there all the time. So I'll be motivated. So that's good. And my coach is going to make sure that I stay on point.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast how you like to stay relatively show ready. So how does that look for you? Because, you know, and I think this also kind of trickles down into, you know, general population with a lot of the people who listen to the podcast with, you know, maintaining the sight on or the focus on your goal while also, you know, with it being the off season, being able to kind of be a little more lenient with what you're able to do and who you're doing it with.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, off season can be a slippery slope because it's like once you get into that habit, once you kind of lose your schedule, your routine, you tend to eat things that maybe you shouldn't or skip workouts consistently.
What are some of those things for you?
Yeah.
Well, I will say this. Once I have like tastes of like really naughty foods, right? Like let's say I have like a cheesecake and then I have a burger or something
Fire.
on my feet.
Mm-hmm.
In that
I
order,
like
cheesecake first
What
and
kind-
then the
what kind
burger?
of
or-
cheesecake though?
Oh, any, really, it's, you know, but I'm giving an example. It might not even be cheesecake, but once I have like really calorie dense, unhealthy food, you know, it is tempting to continue with that because
It
it's
tastes
like
great.
you haven't, yes, right? It's like, oh, this is what real food tastes like, you know? So I would like to say, you know, I got to be careful. So if I have like a cheat meal like that, I got to be like, okay, next morning we're back on it. Okay. Food's already prepared in the fridge. Got to stay on it. Okay. Got to schedule my workouts so that I don't miss, holding myself accountable. So I get back onto that routine because this sport's all about routine. And if you break that routine, it can kind of just be like, you know, just slippery slope. Okay, we're going just whatever now. So got to be very careful, very, very careful.
It's all mindset right there for sure.
Yes.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Is it true that like after you finish competing on stage, you get some of those dense calories in? Is that the time when you look the best and want to take your pictures?
No, not for me. No.
Okay. I don't know.
Honestly,
I'll say, correct me if I've heard. So I'm just saying, I've heard that.
Some people, yeah, maybe. Not me though. Honestly, I think it's more of a myth than anything. I think it's like wishful thinking in a way. But I will say it kind of has negative side effects for me. Like maybe I'll look good still 12 hours then, but it kind of catches up with you because your body is reacting to food that you haven't had in a while. So I don't know about other people, but I tend to get kind of bloated, inflamed, swollen, like after I have like a big meal like that. And it's not comfortable. Like it's like not a good feeling to have something sit in your stomach and feel like it's going nowhere. And
Yeah, I had a
just like,
cheeseburger yesterday. Now that you mentioned that, I feel kind of, I feel kind of
but
gross.
if you're used to having that, like that probably won't affect you. But for me, I don't have
Definitely.
cheat meals during my prep. So like if
God
I were
bless
to
you.
have,
You're more mentally strong than I am.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
yeah.
Well,
well,
that's definitely
honestly,
a myth about their.
I'd be like, well, I can just have it with a lettuce bun. It's okay. Yeah, it's healthier.
yeah. But I will say after competing all these years and stuff, I found great ways to make my healthy food taste really good. So it's like, you know, yeah.
When are we gonna see that? I don't know if you've had one out yet, but when are we gonna see a healthy recipe book with interesting ways to cook?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, I probably should one day. I still feel like though my healthy foods are still so boring to the average person, but for me they taste good. Because I'm really picky person, like really picky. Like I don't eat seafood, nothing under the sea grows. I don't really eat turkey, steak, a little bit. I eat a lot of chicken and vegetables.
There we go. That was my next question. I was gonna be, what do you eat?
Yeah.
And you're like,
How
nah,
many
I don't like
dishes-
air, so I don't really breathe it. No.
How many dishes can we make with that chicken?
With chicken?
With chicken.
Well, there's so many different ways you can cook it and prepare it. Like, for example, you can slow cook it, make it like shredded. You can grill it. You can bake it. You can cube it. You can slice it, dice it, all that. You know?
She sounds like Billy Mays almost.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, get you on an
Right,
infomercial.
Oh man, I love that.
The slap chop, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
That's right.
And
That's
so many
hilarious.
different seasonings and condiments you can use to make it taste like a completely different meal every single day.
You have like a go-to set of like company you use for your seasonings, or
Yeah.
I'm always
so
interested to hear new ones.
there are a line of sugar-free like sauces. The brand is called G Hughes. They make the best sugar-free barbecue,
Shout
sugar-free
out.
chili sauce, sugar-free honey mustard, all that good stuff. So delicious. And I've been loving that brand. It's like been saving my prep for a few years.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, Ashley, I know we're pretty much pushing up on an hour now, and I just wanted to say thank you for really coming on here and dropping this amazing value and sharing your story and what you've gone through and what you continue to push through, and that mentality that you have to be able to keep winning and doing all the amazing things that you absolutely love doing. But before we wrap things up, I know I'm going to finish off with some questions. Not sure if Josh has, but I want to give you the floor real quick to be able to tell our listeners where they can find you, connect with you, and hear about your amazing journey continuing on in any of your future projects.
Okay, cool. My Instagram is at Ashley K Fit, and my YouTube is Ashley Kaltwasser. That's with a K, Kaltwasser. It's really long, confusing name. But yeah, those are the two social medias I use the most. I'm on Facebook too, Ashley Kaltwasser. But yeah, thank you.
Great. I just want to say it's really inspiring, to kind of hear the process that you've gone through and some of the, sacrifices that you've really had to make to get to the top of your field, and it's really cool to be able to, get to have these conversations with people like yourself who are so dedicated to their craft, right? It really does take an exceptional human being to be able to put that much focus into something, because, coming from the health and fitness realm, like we do, we really understand, like, it takes a ton of, I mean, you're putting everything into getting on stage. So, to be able to learn a little bit about yourself and your process has been, quite incredible. And, I want to wish you the best of luck in the Olympia, and, I'll be rooting for you 100%. And, let us know, when the actual, I don't know specifically when the date is and everything, but we'll make sure that we, push it out on our social media channels and support you as best we can.
Thank you. Yeah, it's December 18th. So
awesome.
Great.
Well, awesome. Maybe we'll have to go. It's in Orlando.
Hey, why not?
We'll paint our chest for you.
Yay! I love that. Love it.
You definitely got to let us know when it gets closer to that day, so we stay in communication.
Okay, sounds good.
So awesome. I'm going to hit you with some little rapid fire questions.
Get ready.
Okay.
Woo. Number one, if you can only pick one exercise, what would it be?
Curtsy lunge.
Yes. Hey, that's so good. I love the curtsy lunge.
With what?
A barbell on my back.
Damn.
All right. That's not easy.
No, fuck, that's hard.
Number two. All right. Social media platforms.
I like YouTube the best.
YouTube.
She already beat you too. She knew.
I was about
she
to
was
say,
ready for this one.
I was going to say, keep one, get a new one, delete one.
Oh, so keep one, get a new one, delete one.
Mm-hmm.
Delete TikTok, keep YouTube, and what's the other one?
Get a new one.
Get a new Instagram, I guess. I like my Instagram a lot. I just feel like it's like full of a lot of thirsty guys. But YouTube is where it's at.
You should see this.
We're gonna dive into this again. Oh my god. He always loves bringing up the fact that I have like these creepy dudes that DM me about my feet. I used to train barefoot when I was.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious! You get tagged in all these foot fetish.
No, they literally DM me. They're like, oh, so like you train barefoot? Yeah. Oh, well, like never socks? No. Oh, well, like how do your feet get rough? Like, do you get massages? If you get massages, like what type of lotion do they? I'm like, you're getting very specific with this. Like,
oh my.
It's weird though. Some real creeps out there. For all you guys, if you're thinking about creeping, guys, don't.
Oh my god.
That's rule of thumb. If you're thinking you might be a creep, you probably are going to be a creep. So just stay away from it.
That's a great rule of thumb.
So question number 3, what is your favorite meal that you prepare yourself, the entire meal?
I would probably have, it's not a meal, but it's a snack and I've been loving it lately. I kind of make my own healthy version of like candied pecans, those sweet pecans. I've been doing it myself, but healthy with like cinnamon and stevia, and I roast them in the air fryer. Oh, it's so good.
You're the second person today that's told me about an air fryer. I think it's God telling me that I need to get one.
I love it.
Well, definitely. I know Jenny has one. We've used it a few times. So come over and I'll let you borrow it.
Dude, I've been waiting for this invite my whole life. My whole life.
Next question. What's the craziest experience you've ever had in your career?
I would say when I traveled to India to compete, that was crazy.
Wow.
Big culture shock. They do a lot of things so differently than us. So different. I just felt so out of place. It's a very long story, but let's just say there was no toilets that we're used to having.
Did it take a while for I used to have a client that's Indian and he used to travel back and forth. Did it take a while for you to get the smell of Indian spices out of your clothes? Like every time you would come back in the gym from like a long trip to India, I'd be like, dude, you gotta go do something about that. Like
no, but I love their food. That was the best part.
Oh, the food I've heard is impeccable. Yeah.
Last question. What's the biggest piece of advice you can leave off to all our listeners today in one sentence?
Oh gosh, in one sentence. Okay. It's very cliche, but enjoy the entire journey.
Oof. Plain and simple.
Impactful.
Enjoy the entire journey, guys.
Kind of hard to with one sentence. I just want to follow the rules.
Love it. Well, once again, Ashley, we thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, your energy, your mindset, the way you are, your competitiveness, and the motivation you drive every single day for all the people out there watching you, and definitely for our listeners today. Till next time, guys.
We'll see you later. Thanks,
later.
Ashley.